They were hunted. They were branded as property. They were told they had no history, no power, and no future. But in the emerald shadows of Jamaica's peaks, they proved the world wrong. Long before the Emancipation Act of 1838, long before the British Empire claimed to grant freedom, a defiant collective of Africans vanished into the clouds and achieved the impossible. They challenged a global superpower. They carved out a life the empire could not take away. This is the story of the Jamaican Maroons and the woman who became the architect of their freedom, Nanny. The Maroons were not born in the mountains. They were born in Africa. Many were from the Akan people and Kromanti warriors of the Asante Empire, who carried centuries of statecraft, military strategy, and community organization across the Atlantic. The British thought they could erase this knowledge with chains and plantations. They were wrong. The Maroons brought African governance with them. They built fortified settlements, developed food supply systems, and organized councils. They were a nation within a colony, living proof that African knowledge survived the Middle Passage. By the early 1700s, Nanny of the Maroons rose as the guiding force of the Windward Maroons, a military strategist, spiritual leader, and healer. Her brilliance lay in her ability to blend intellect with terrain. She organized Nanny Town, perched thousands of feet above sea level on a narrow ridge. Vertical slopes left only one path for the enemy. Any British soldier climbing that path in heavy uniforms was exposed and exhausted. The thin mountain air stole their breath, while every step they took was a potential trap observed by Maroon lookouts. From 1728 to 1739, the First Maroon War raged. The British fought with European manuals, linear formations, and heavy cannon. The Maroons fought differently. They moved in small, agile groups, striking supply lines and disappearing into the forest. They spoke Kromanti, a secret language rooted in Twi, allowing them to communicate in front of British soldiers without revealing their plans. They used the Abeng horn to carry messages across valleys faster than any horse could run, signaling troop numbers and attack locations with coded tones. The Maroons mastered survival science. They painted their skin with kaolin clay and forest pigments to break up their silhouette. Some British patrols reported walking within inches of a warrior without seeing a thing. They turned biology into strategy, harvesting the cinchona tree to produce quinine to treat fevers. While the British suffered from tropical disease, the Maroons thrived. They were not just fighters. They were farmers, engineers, and healers. Communities like Moortown and Akan were self-sustaining, growing their own food and raising livestock in total independence. By 1739, after a decade of costly failure, the British Empire was forced to negotiate. They recognized Maroon freedom and granted them 500 acres of land. Enslaved people, legally defined as property, had forced a global empire to recognize them as sovereign political actors. Nanny was the last to sign. She understood that freedom for some was not freedom for all, but it was a victory carved from blood and courage. Her leadership ensured that the Maroons would live free in Jamaica, nearly a century before general emancipation. Nanny's story challenges the global narrative of women in warfare. She was a commander and strategist, a Black African woman leading armed resistance in the early 18th century. Her legacy inspired revolutions across the Caribbean, including the Haitian Revolution. Today, her image is on the Jamaican $500 bill, but her true monument is the Blue Mountains. When the wind moves through the ridges, it carries the memory of a woman who refused to surrender. The Maroons were not fugitives hiding from history. They were the authors of it. They preserved African culture, built nations in the shadows of empires, and proved that freedom is possible even when all odds are against you. The Abeng still sounds. The mountains still stand. And every time her story is told truthfully, power is restored. Dignity, agency, identity. They were called property, but in the peaks of Jamaica, they became a people who would not be chained. And the world has never been the same.